let's not put Justin Herbert in the Hall of Fame just quite yet. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Hard Foul Radio. Appreciate you for tuning in today. This is the show that values time, so let's not waste any. So the NFL Network released its top 100 list over the weekend, and one of the more, controversial picks that I heard a lot of people talking about was Tom Brady ranked at 7. There's a lot of people who essentially had the viewpoint that Tom Brady should either be number 1 or number 2 because he won the Super Bowl, or Tom Brady should be ranked like 10 to 15 because even though we all respect Tom Brady, you could make the statistical argument he is more in that range, if not even more in the range of 20 to 30. Here's the problem when it comes to grading someone like Tom. What I kept hearing was it's like, oh, what's the intangibles? He's a winner. It's his impact on the locker room. It's what he does for the team. Can we just all understand something? Like, first off, there's a rule on this show. We don't bet against Tom Brady or Bill Belichick. We just don't. And why would that be a rule on this show? I'm essentially just scarred from Tom Brady being great since, I don't know, I was about 6, It might have something to do with it, He's been great in winning Super Bowls since I was 6 years old. He is on a 20-plus year run of being dominant in the sport. It doesn't matter if you think he's as talented as Mahomes or Rodgers. It doesn't matter if you think he throws a prettier football than a Peyton Manning or Drew Brees, some of his contemporaries coming up. We're just scarred. Had a Super Bowl party at my house a couple years ago, the Patriots and Rams game. The Rams, by every measure, should have won that game. They should have been favored going into that game. It should have just worked for them. Just didn't bet. I can't bet against Tom. A couple years prior, Patriots Falcons, 28-3. Everyone at halftime and Twitter is writing the Tom Brady funeral. He's on the ground. He threw a pick 6. This is it. Finally, the Patriots are done. Well, we both know how those games ended. Tom with 2 more Super Bowls. And then Tom Brady goes to Tampa. And I talked all last year about that's my boomer bust team. I don't bet against Tom. And if it works, trust me, it will just work. I don't have an answer for you. Can't give you a deep dive, an analogy, any kind of critique. I can't tell you why it works. It just works. We're scarred. We are sports scarred from Tom Brady just winning year after year after year, being in that position, whether he's in the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl, being a threat to win it. Like, we are just scarred from Tom. It's easy to tell you why Mahomes or Rodgers or Aaron Donald, some of these guys, Travis Kelce, why they are so high and why they're so great. Tom is just like, man, he just kicked my ass. Couldn't tell you why. It's kind of like that old man at the YMCA feeling. And Tom is just old man at the YMCA his way to 7 Super Bowls, number 7 spot. He is the Freddy Krueger of sports to the rest of us. It doesn't matter if you think every single movie is great. Like, there's, I think, 8 Nightmare on Elm Streets. And it don't matter if you think number 8 is as good as number 1. It doesn't matter if you think last year's Super Bowl is as good as his first Super Bowl. Or if you feel like, oh, well, when his best season, 07, he didn't actually win one. It don't matter. You know who Tom is, and you know what Tom comes with. You know who Freddy Krueger is, and you know what Freddy Krueger comes with. Moving on, some of my own scarring just, coming to the top of my head. I want to slow down on someone who I feel like is getting, and deservedly so, a lot of love for how he performed in his rookie year, but someone who I think media is going a little overboard on. And I'm going to get pushed back on this because of my own personal fandom. Let's not put Justin Herbert in the Hall of Fame just quite yet. Justin Herbert's coming off an amazing rookie season, and I think Justin Herbert's going to be a really good, if not great, quarterback for the Chargers. But I think there's a lot of people who, after one great year, essentially want to say, oh, this is it. This is the guy. When in reality, Justin Herbert has a lot more chance to be Matt Ryan than he does Patrick Mahomes, who I think a lot of people have already put him in that class with, or in terms of put him on that projection. Matt Ryan came into the league in 08, set records in terms of statistically. Remember, because him and Flacco both came in 08. That is the start of the great rookie quarterback era. Flacco won, but didn't necessarily have great statistics. He was playing with Ray Lewis in that defense, and it was kind of, hey, we're going to run the ball, Ray Rice. We don't need you throwing for 300-400 yards a game. We just need you to don't turn the ball over. And that's what Joe Flacco's style was. Matt Ryan came into the league, and he had more of a statistical impact right off the bat. Now, Herbert had better stats. I'm not denying that. But understand what quarterbacks were asked to do in 2021 versus what quarterbacks were asked to do in 2008, especially rookie quarterbacks. And Atlanta, similar to the Chargers, one of the things they were able to provide were, even though they were bad the prior year, they had talent on the roster as well as free agent acquisition talent. Michael Turner, Michael Jenkins, Roddy White. They brought in a couple of offensive linemen. Like, they put pieces around Matt Ryan to make Matt Ryan elevated. Joe Flacco, like I said, he won, but Joe Flacco, the pieces he had around him were not so much offensive pieces. They were more so he came in and inherited a great defense. Both beneficial, but we're talking about looking good statistically. Matt Ryan had the Falcons built their team, and the Chargers team, they were more, hey, we're going to benefit our young rookie quarterback. And there's nothing wrong with being Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is going to get Hall of Fame votes. I think has a really good chance of going into the Hall of Fame one day. Matt Ryan's been an MVP in this league, and Matt Ryan has been to a Super Bowl, despite our first segment, it not going so well for him. But he played Tom Brady. Justin Herbert, who had a great rookie season, and people talk about like, oh, and he did it without a training camp. There's a lot to be said on, yes, he didn't have a training camp, and while it's impressive what he did, guys also didn't get to see him. And we've seen guys have great seasons and then come back somewhat to the pack because teams get to catch up on you. Teams get to watch film on you. Teams get to see what you do. And one of the big differences between someone like him and another quarterback that gets criticized for, oh, we've caught up on him, Lamar Jackson, who gets told, oh, well, we're going to figure out what you do. It's harder to figure out what someone like Lamar does when, even if you say, oh, Lamar needs to run to help elevate his throwing, that's fine. Lamar has a 4.340. Justin Herbert doesn't. Now, Justin Herbert has a good arm, but we've seen quarterbacks with really good arms. We've seen quarterbacks have good end of standout seasons or good spurts. And arguably, I could even make a case there's a lot of Matt Stafford in what Justin Herbert did. Matt Stafford came in the league and he was throwing for a bunch of yards. He had a great arm. He had Calvin Johnson. He got Brandon Pettigrew early on in his career. He had receivers, Nate Burleson. And if you had said, would the Lions build a winner around Matt Stafford, going off his rookie year, I would have absolutely told you. There's just not a lot of examples of guys just being great from game one, and they just keep it rolling all the way through. Like, I mean, in the history of sports, there's not a lot of examples of a guy just being, all right, I'm great statistically, I have a great talent, and I'm going to win, and I'm just doing this day one, and I just do this for the entirety of my career. That's why Mahomes is such an anomaly, is that pretty much the second he got in there, he was throwing for a bunch of yards, a bunch of touchdowns, set records, MVP, Super Bowl. Like, that's not normal. I just want to, let's take a break let's just slow it back down, a little bit, some of the hype on Justin Herbert. And like you said, I think Herbert's going to be great. I think the AFC West has a chance to be one of the best seasons ever for a division for quarterbacks. If you look at all four quarterbacks up and down, I think he's got a chance to do great things. I think he's got a chance to put up numbers. But I think he's also going to end up more like Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford than he is likely to be Patrick Mahomes. And that's okay.